Welcome back. You're listening to Real Estate Matters here on the Money Matters Radio Network. I'm your host, Bob Gallagher with Ross Mortgage. Joining me in the studio today, we have several special guests in a crowded studio today. We've got Pete DeMore, the co-host, always with us. Pete, welcome to the show.
Love to be here, Bob.
And then we've got returning guest Eileen Fitzpatrick from Remax and Bolton. Eileen, thanks for being on the show.
Hi, Bob.
And then we have special guests, Linda and Marybeth. They're home stagers out of Lexington, Monarch Staging and Design. They have a website. You can check it out, monarchstaginganddesign.com. Welcome to the show, Linda and Marybeth.
Thank you for having us, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
So we had you on the show. We asked you on the show so we could talk about home staging and why it's so important, especially in today's marketplace. And a lot of people think, with how fast houses are selling, that maybe you don't need to do the extra things that you had to do even 6 months or a year ago. But that's not the case. And one of the things you were talking about before we got started today was that home staging is actually tax deductible now.
It is.
And is that something that's changed recently?
That is. So it's been verified that it is considered a home improvement tax deduction. So you can actually get your money back from whatever it costs you to stage your home to sell it. You can now get that back.
Okay, and why don't you tell us a little bit about what staging is, and for the audience listening in?
Staging is creating a feeling in a room that makes buyers want to come in and stay. So it's neutralizing a room, and it's appealing to the masses while highlighting your positives in the house and taking away from the negatives. People don't want to really see your personal stuff, even though if you came into my house needs to be staged. It's very personal because I live in it. But if you want to sell something, you need to depersonalize yourself from that. And that's what we do. We go in and we depersonalize the house. We put it more into a neutral area, and we sell it and we highlight the positives of the house. So when people walk in, they want to be there. They like what they see, and it helps sell the house.
And do you stage all different types of homes, or is this really more something you do for the high-end homes?
We do it for all houses. I mean, all of us need to declutter our house when we go to sell it. So we're basically that stepping stone to help you move your personal, your stuff to your next location. We go in, we clean out the room so you can actually walk through the room and you can envision yourself in the rooms, bedrooms, bathrooms, main rooms.
Okay.
So, Marybeth.
I also think that staging can be done as little as you want or as much as you want based on your budget. So ideally, it's nice to be able to have a larger budget, but we work within the homeowner's budget. So as little or as much as they can afford.
Okay. So
and
you work with the furniture pieces that they have?
We can do that, yes, in an occupied house. And it's also, I think the most important thing is just making your best first impression, trying to, and make a statement right from the get-go.
Okay. And what, on average, can you give us a ballpark of what the average homeowner is going to spend to stage a home?
It varies. I mean, for all stagers nationwide, they do a consultation, which is $250. And then from that point, it depends on, you don't know what you're going to walk into. So everything is different, and your hours that you're going to work on it are different. So that's something that you can't really put a price on until you've actually walked into the home. Right. And of course, can you use their furniture? Do you need to rent furniture? Do rooms need to be painted? Do appliances need to be updated? You don't know what you're walking into, so you can't really put a price on it, except for that consultation where we come in and we give you a list of what you need to do.
Right. And Eileen, you actually do a lot of work with Linda and Marybeth, correct?
I have, yes, I have.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about the difference in the way the process goes if you have the house staged versus not having it staged, in terms of marketing time and sales price and that sort of thing?
I actually have to tell you, I'm shocked by the difference in the value home can have. And I think I've learned years ago there was no such thing as a stager. People just put signs on the front yard and a lockbox on the door, and the house was sold. But with the housing decline over the past 10 years or 8 to 10 years, you really had to roll up your arm sleeves and try to capture a way to make a home more appealing and appeal to, as Linda had said, the masses. It's not, people don't come and fall in love with four walls and a oak floor and a Formica countertop. They fall in love with a feeling or an emotion that a home gives, and staging creates that emotion for people.
Right.
We have seen houses side by side, one that was staged and that one wasn't, and just amazing. Same builder, same year, both 25 years old, both needing improvements. Why did that one house get $50,000 more than the other one? And it's just because the one that was staged created a certain emotion, a certain feeling that spoke to buyers when they walked through the door. In
Right.
much the same way when you go buy your car, your little red Corvette, and you go in and it's looking beautiful and perfect and the leather is clean and there's no lint on the floor versus something that hasn't been washed in years. Which car are you going to buy?
Right.
It's pretty simple.
So if houses are actually selling for more when they're staged, then staging is really an investment. It's not really an expense.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And Bob, there's a statistic out there that talks about staged homes just sell faster. And across North America, typically, a stage home sells in 29 days or less.
Wow.
Whereas those that are not staged can take 145 days or more.
Really?
So that's across North America, and including all different price ranges and houses. But it certainly is a pretty astounding statistic.
It certainly is.
That's a significant amount of money, 110 days of having to carry that house versus selling it.
Right.
I mean, that gets you money back right off the bat.
Right. You look at the average mortgage payment today for 4 extra months. That's quite a bit of money you're spending.
Yeah.
Not only that, but it's cheaper than having to do a price reduction at the end of the day.
That's also a very good point. Now, how did you get into staging?
I was in design at Pottery Barn, and a couple of the people that I worked with encouraged me to go forward. Plus, I worked with stagers that would come in, and they would come in with pictures and be like, what could I do to this room to make it look cleaner and less cluttered? And I'm thinking, why am I doing your job?
Right.
So a couple of people encouraged me to take that step. One of them is to the right of me. And
I didn't know that Eileen was one of the people. Good job,
she's my
Eileen.
new BFF. But so I decided to do that, and plus, I love what I do. Marybeth and I work well together, and it's at the end of it, and we see what we've done for people that have owned homes for 25, 30 years and have had all this laughter in the walls, and we've got a new person being able to purchase that house and start that all over again. There's a huge reward at the end of this for us. It's not just about what we do, it's about how we make people feel at the end of the day.
Right.
So.
And you're helping to sell the house.
I am helping to sell the house, yes.
Now, you actually studied in New York City, correct?
I did, for 7 days.
7 days?
Long days.
I'll bet.
No, I did not go to New York and have fun. It was a 7:30 start and a 5 o'clock end.
That's an investment in itself.
It was.
And that's basically a semester's worth of school all wrapped up into a week.
It was pretty much that, yes. But I will tell you that I learned a lot from that. And I also wanted to be accredited. When I said that I can do this, I wanted to say that I took the time out of my own life to make sure that I knew what I was doing. And so the combination of that and my design background, it's worked. It's been a fit.
So let's say you're not you're listening to the show right now, and maybe you're in New Hampshire or Rhode Island, possibly outside your territory. How do you go about finding a stager?
Well, first of all, we have no territory, so you can always call us.
Oh, how about that? Well, you know what? That's a great thing. I should mention now how to contact you.
Yeah.
Again, it's Linda and Marybeth. You can find them online at monarchstaginganddesign.com, or you can call anytime,
Anytime, day or night.
781-799-4084. Again, it's 781-799-4084.
Right.
So how do you go about finding a stager for people that aren't anywhere near you?
Well, you work with a realtor. Most people work with realtors. And I would suggest that a realtor give you, 3 names of stagers, or at least 2, just because personalities are really what you need. You need somebody that understands you and understands your need. And not all personalities work. And secondly, I would make sure that they're part of an organization that is a nationally known organization, like, different staging organizations that are out there.
Right. You can probably find those online.
You can find those online. And if and also go online. But, if you're on the fence about staging and you're not really sure, is this for me or should I or shouldn't I? And you're thinking about putting your house on the market, one of the things I suggest is Fridays, go to a bunch of open houses over the weekend of houses that are the same price range as yours. And when you go through those houses, really look at the detail of what other competitors in your same are selling their house for. And between the two of them, you might be able to see the different homes that are staged, the ones that they did it themselves, which meant that they kept their personality flowing through the house. And, take those little tidbits and go back to your house and ask yourself, the difference between my house and my neighbor's house is that they got staged and I didn't. So if you want to beat your competitor, you need to clean up your house and you need it to be staged, because that first impression, you only give that buyer one time to walk in that front door, and they're either going to want to continue or they're going to want to go to your neighbors and buy that.
And you don't want that happening.
You don't want that to happen. This is a big investment. I mean, this is some of our largest investments at the end of the day, is what you sell your house for.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize how important it can be. I mean, like those statistics you shared earlier, it could be the difference between selling the house in a month or less, or waiting around for 3 or 4 months and possibly having to make price reductions to finally move it.
Right, and a lot of the houses in our area are actually selling over the price, and there are bidding wars going on right now. So even though this might be a buyer's market, you still want your product to be the shiniest out there. You don't want it to be dull.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
It's funny because my son is actually a flipper on houses, and he did a beautiful product and thought he didn't need it to be staged.
Your own son,
my own son
wasn't going to stage?
In the beginning. This was his, he didn't have a lot of money left. And I said, you cannot afford not to.
Wow.
There's a lot of competition out there, and it was a townhouse. And they all look the same.
They do.
Staged it, and he sold it that weekend. So it's like,
wow,
he realized,
that weekend.
yes. And other ones were sitting on the market for month upon month upon month.
Right.
So it's hard to convince the home buyer sometimes that it is the best thing for them. And
Right.
it is, sometimes an out-of-pocket expense, but most of the time it really does pay off. So
That's good. That's very good advice. And it really goes back to what Eileen was saying earlier. You're not buying the house because of the walls and the way the floor looks. You're buying it because you walk in and you immediately can picture yourself and your family there. And it sounds like that's what you guys accomplish. You create that emotional attachment for the buyers coming in. And if you do that for a bunch of buyers coming in, I imagine it sells for over asking price, or at least closer to what the sellers want. So that's great. So if you're looking to sell a home and having listened to the show at this point, you realize you have to stage it. There's just not an option not to.
Oh, listen, with Linda and Marybeth, I've never seen such a passion for doing what they do. And I've been to Eileen's office, and I know they did that. It's just spectacular.
Yeah, you were raving about it when you came back.
That's all I talked about.
He did. I've never heard.
Even though they threw me out, but
Pete, you can take down my number. I can help you out here.
So if you'd like to contact Linda and Marybeth, it's monarchstaginganddesign.com, and the phone number to call is 781-799-4084. Again, it's 781-799-4084. Now, I have another question for you. Let's say that there are people out there that they literally just don't have another dime to pay for staging. Anything that you'd recommend, some DIY stuff that they can do to properly stage the house so it'll sell fast?
Well, that's always the most important thing is, I think the first thing that we say to homeowners is clean your house. Before you even start with the decluttering, a clean house is so important. Wash your windows. Clean the floors. If it looks dirty, it is a complete turnoff to someone coming into the house. So, foremost, definitely clean. And I think you really want to capture your prospective buyer from the outside.
Right.
So curb appeal is very important. Get those leaves clean off your front steps, get a nice plant. You want to entice them to come into the house.
You don't want the overgrown grass and the leaves from
correct.
the last 3 years sitting in the front yard.
Correct. So they're not gonna want to go inside. If it's dirty on the outside, they're certainly not going to want to venture inside. Yeah. And again, really to just declutter and put those pictures away, all those personal photos. Just you're going to be moving anyway. So you might as well start the boxing up now.
Right.
And start taking it out to the trash way before your open house. Get going, because you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
We had one I had a client once that said, "There's no way I need a dumpster." And trust me, by the end, we couldn't fit another thing in the dumpster. Wow. So you'd be surprised how much stuff you accumulate over the years. So give yourself plenty of time also. When you're starting to think about putting your house on the market, I would say to really start thinking about it well in advance, just so you're not completely stressed at the end.
And how long does it take for you guys to go through the staging process? How do you actually do that? Is it something that depends? I imagine the bigger the house, the bigger the job, but on average, does it take weeks to put it together, or is it something you can get done in a week or less?
We can get it done in a week or less.
Oh, that's
We're very good at that. And plus, it depends on how much we have to do. Like some people just want us in there for 4 hours. Mm-hmm. So we go in for 4 hours and then we leave the list, whatever we didn't get done. Some people want us there for a whole day. There's all different there's different options that you can work with your stager, depending on your budget. And if you need to rent furniture, we can have a truck backing into your driveway in 2 days. So,
wow.
It's not that difficult. And I think we like working on a short time frame because we're better at that.
Yeah.
We love working under pressure. So most of the
Don't we all?
most of the time, we may only have 3 days to get that house done. So.
Excellent. So I'm going to give out your contact information again. It's monarchstaginganddesign.com, and the number to call is 781-799-4084. Again, it's 781-799-4084.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more Get Real
Linda
after this.
and Marybeth, monarchstaginganddesign.com. Is there anything else you'd like to leave us with before we wrap it up?
No, we just want to thank you for the opportunity to come in here, Bob.
Well, I really appreciate you guys coming into the studio, and Eileen, thank you for joining us again.
I just want to say that these guys are amazing, unbelievable. They have made such a difference in my life, and I am so eternally grateful for transforming my office into something that I'm really proud of. And I know that everyone who walks through the door has that same feeling, Pete.
Oh,
great.
It's beautiful.
Great. So we're going to take a commercial break. So thank you very much for tuning in. We've got more Real Estate Matters coming up after this. Stay tuned.